I'm Camryn Blake, a cyber risk analyst in Seattle, and I speak for myself now. Last night, my mother, Marjorie Hale, texted me 8 words. We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever. This morning, I booked a meeting at North Sound Bank and told them to remove my name from every loan I co-signed for my parents and my sister. Brianna, I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to make it official. You'll hear people say blood is thicker than contracts. My blood paid their mortgage and their SUV while they laughed at my graduation cake on the ground. Today, the auto debits stop. The access freezes. And the signatures that bound me get sliced clean by a stamp on paper. Call it revenge if you want. I call it breathing. Quiet and overdue. I know some of you will hate what comes next. Is calling the police to send my mother and sister from my doorstep too far? Or is it the first real boundary I have ever drawn? Clear and legal. I won't argue on Facebook. And I won't beg for approval. I will simply act and let the record speak. Line by line. Clearly. The backyard in Boise looked perfect that evening, string lights. Soft music. The smell of barbecue drifting through the air. My mother, Marjorie, moved between guests with her trademark hostess smile. The kind that photographs well but never reaches her eyes. My sister, Brianna, sat in the center of it all, glowing in a new floral dress as their son, Noah, perched proudly beside her. I stood near the cake table, invisible but smiling anyway, holding a paper plate like it was armor. Someone called out for Brianna to tell everyone about her Florida trip. She laughed, tossing her hair, while Mom chimed in that she'd insisted they stay another week because they deserved it. No one asked me about Seattle, or the degree I'd just earned after working nights and weekends. My cake, the one that said, "Congrats, Camryn," sat pushed into a corner beside empty soda cans. Frosting, melting under the light. When Noah ran toward me, his grin already sharp, I knew trouble was coming. "Aunt Camryn," he shouted. "Mom says you only got your degree so you can brag." Laughter burst around the table, raw, ugly, familiar. And then his small hand shoved the cake off the edge, frosting splattering across the deck. No one told him to apologize. My father stayed glued to his phone while Marjorie laughed, saying, "Oh, come on, Camryn. Don't be so sensitive." I set the knife down, untied the apron, and walked out as their laughter trailed behind me into the night. The drive back to Seattle felt endless, headlights carving through the dark like small acts of defiance. By the time I reached my apartment, the city was quiet except for the steady rhythm of rain against the glass. I dropped my keys, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. The spreadsheet stared back at me, 2 lines glowing in blue: parents' mortgage, $400, and Brianna's SUV, $640. 3 years of automatic withdrawals. 3 years of being told it was just until business picks up. I scrolled through old messages from Marjorie, reminding me to be patient, each one sweetened with guilt. I realized they weren't just using my name, they were using my silence. The decision came without drama, just a calm certainty. I opened my email and typed to North Sound Bank requesting appointment to remove co-borrower status effective immediately. The words looked almost surgical on the screen. Clean and final. I attached proof of income, lease, and the message where Mom had written, "The house is ours, you just helped sign." When I hit send, my phone lit up with calls. I didn't answer. The group chat filled with accusations, demands, and one phrase that made me almost laugh, "You've gone too far." I stared at it for a long time, then turned the phone face down. For once, the silence didn't feel like losing, It felt like regaining gravity. North Sound Bank sat on a quiet corner downtown, its glass walls reflecting the gray Seattle sky. Inside, the air smelled faintly of coffee and printer ink. Sterile and calm, the opposite of the chaos my family was creating on my phone. Victor Peña, the branch manager, greeted me with a handshake that was steady but kind. His office was simple, pale blue walls, a fern in the corner, and a small plaque that read, "Integrity Matters." He reviewed the folder I'd brought my lease. Pay stubs, account statements, and one message from Marjorie that read, "The house is ours, you just helped sign." When he finished reading, he looked up with quiet understanding. "You're not the first to be trapped under the word family," he said, sliding a set of papers across the desk. "If we confirm no ownership interest, we can process your liability release today." I signed each page carefully, my hand trembling only once. Every signature felt like cutting a thread I'd been strangling myself with for years. When Victor clicked his pen and stamped the last page, the sound was small, but it landed like a verdict. "You did the right thing," he told me softly. "Protecting yourself isn't betrayal, it's self-respect." As I stepped outside, the cold air hit my face. Sharp and clean, the city noise returned, distant but alive. And for the first time in years, I felt something unclench inside my chest. It wasn't triumph, it was relief. The kind that comes when you realize the knife that once cut you can finally be used to free you instead. 3 days later, the storm arrived not from the bank, but from Facebook. Marjorie had posted a long paragraph under a smiling family photo, claiming I'd stolen from my parents and ruined their credit out of spite. Comments multiplied fast, I full of pity for her and disgust for me. Old neighbors, church friends, even a high school teacher chimed in about how ungrateful kids today forget who raised them. I read it once, then again, feeling the old panic rise in my chest before something colder replaced it. The truth didn't need shouting, and I had no interest in wrestling inside their circus. Instead, I opened my work inbox and wrote one calm email to my team. "If you see rumors online, please disregard them. Some people fight boundaries with lies. I'm fine and appreciate your professionalism." I signed it simply Camryn. Then I shut my laptop and watched the rain smear the skyline outside my window. By the next morning, the Facebook post had vanished without a trace. Maybe someone had told her the truth. Or maybe the bank had called to confirm it. I didn't need to know. The damage didn't matter anymore, because I'd already stepped out of the story they kept trying to write me into. The pounding started just after dusk, 3 sharp knocks that rattled my apartment door. Through the video intercom, I saw Marjorie and Brianna standing in the hallway, their faces tight with fury. My mother's arms were crossed like she was about to deliver a lecture, while Brianna's eyes were red and frantic. "Open this door right now." "Camryn," Marjorie shouted, her voice cracking under the strain. I didn't move. From the screen, I watched them whisper, glance around at neighbors peeking through their doors. Brianna's voice rose high and uneven. "You ruined everything. The bank froze our accounts. Mom's credit is gone. My car's about to be repossessed." The words hit like accusations carved from panic. Then came the part that always made them dangerous. Marjorie's tone softening into false reason. "We're family. Camryn, you can't treat us like strangers." I picked up my phone. Steady hands over the 911 app. 2 individuals are outside my apartment, yelling and refusing to leave. I told the dispatcher. When asked if I knew them, I said quietly, "Yes, but today they're just people violating my boundary." 10 minutes later, The hallway flashed red and blue. The officers spoke calmly, while Marjorie pointed at my door, insisting she had rights as a mother. The female officer shook her head. "Not here, ma'am." Their footsteps echoed down the stairwell, angry and defeated. Through the intercom, I spoke just loud enough for the mic to catch. "If they act like intruders, then family ends at the threshold." When the silence returned, it was clean, almost holy. I slid down the wall and exhaled, realizing that peace sometimes sounds exactly like a door that stays locked. Within 48 hours, the fallout began to spread like cracks in glass. Brianna's SUV was the first to go towed from her driveway before dawn. The bright orange repo notice fluttering under the wipers. Marjorie called the bank, furious, demanding a mistake be fixed, only to learn that her credit line had been frozen pending verification. The same morning, a catering deposit she'd counted on for her next event was reversed. They flooded my inbox with messages that swung between guilt and rage. "You've destroyed your own family," Marjorie wrote. "You're killing us financially." There was no mention of the years I had quietly kept those same accounts alive. I didn't respond. I just saved every message. Each one, another piece of proof that control had shifted for good. At North Sound Bank, Victor helped me finalize the credit freeze, his expression calm but firm. "This ensures they can't open new loans under your name," he said, sliding the papers toward me. The ink on my signature felt heavier than it should, like it carried every silent apology I'd ever given. That night, a text came from an unknown number. "You'll pay for this, Camryn." I let the screen dim and left it unread. They had spent years mistaking my restraint for weakness. Now they were learning what it sounded like when silence held all the power. Trent Lawson, Brianna's fiancé, called the next morning. His voice was tight, controlled, but the panic underneath was clear. "I can't be part of this," he said, referencing the frozen accounts and repossessed SUV. The engagement was over before it had a chance to recover. Brianna's attempts to redirect his anger toward me failed. She begged, pleaded, even tried to argue that this was just a family dispute. Trent had already seen the documents I'd provided, every transaction, every auto debit, every proof of misuse. There was no spinning it. He stepped back and pulled out entirely. Her social media crumbled around the news. Sponsors called asking for clarification about unpaid debts and credit issues. Brianna posted videos of herself crying, framing herself as the victim. But even her audience could see the holes in her story. The carefully curated image she'd built for years was unraveling, one post at a time. Meanwhile, I stayed silent, letting the dominoes fall where they would. Trent's withdrawal sent ripples through her world, and Marjorie could do nothing to stop them. I didn't gloat, I just kept records, steady and precise, knowing that letting truth work its course was the most devastating move of all. A few days later, the envelope arrived at my office, its gold-embossed seal glinting under the fluorescent lights. Inside was the official release from North Sound Bank, confirming that I, Camryn Blake, was fully removed from all liabilities concerning the joint mortgage and Brianna's SUV loan. Every signature, every stamp, every line of text felt like a door finally closing on years of silent obligation. The weight that had pressed against my chest for so long began to lift in slow, steady waves. Marjorie and Brianna had no way to reverse it. Any attempt to access new credit under my name was blocked, and the bank held records proving I had acted within my rights. I sent a calm, measured email to both, outlining that any attempt to contest the release would be forwarded to legal authorities. I did not gloat or argue, I merely documented everything. letting the consequences speak for themselves. Their world began to unravel in predictable but satisfying patterns. Brianna's SUV remained in repossession. Sponsorships paused. And Trent walked away completely. Marjorie's events suffered cancellations and lost deposits, leaving her scrambling to cover both reputation and finances. Each domino fell with precise inevitability, the chaos entirely of their own making. In the quiet that followed, I finally breathed, letting the years of control slip away. No messages, no demands, no anger could reach me anymore. For the first time, I belonged entirely to myself, unburdened and free. The finality wasn't revenge, it was justice measured and complete. And it left no loose ends for them or for me to worry about. Weeks later, life began to settle into a rhythm I hadn't known I could have. At Shieldloom, my work gained recognition quietly but decisively. Elisa Grant, our CEO, praised my steadiness and reliability in a meeting. Words that carried weight because they weren't obligated by family ties or past favors. For the first time, I felt validated on merit alone. My personal life found its own equilibrium as well. Mornings began with yoga at Sunrise Soup. Evenings with cooking and laughter among friends who saw me as I truly was. Small routines, a cactus on my windowsill, coffee steaming by the skyline became markers of autonomy and control. I didn't need drama, I needed stability. And it finally existed. Requests for my attention from Marjorie and Brianna faded into background noise. Their chaos no longer touched me. The boundaries I set, unquestioned, had become invisible shields. For the first time, Camryn Blake belonged entirely to herself. Her career thriving, her life unclaimed by others' expectations. Marjorie Hale finally signed the repayment and apology letters. Each one a formal acknowledgement of misuse and mismanagement. Her events resumed only after she absorbed the full consequences: lost deposits, cancellations, and a sharply damaged reputation. Brianna faced repossession, canceled sponsorships, and the complete withdrawal of Trent Lawson from her life. Each action had been meticulously documented, leaving no room for excuses or reversal. Gerald Hale, usually the silent bystander, had to attend a financial counseling program mandated by the bank to prevent future misuse of shared accounts. Noah, caught in the middle, was sent to participate in community service projects with Marjorie, learning the consequences of adult choices through hands-on experience. Every member of the family now confronted the reality of their actions. Each domino falling precisely as it should. I watched from Seattle, quiet and untouched by the chaos they had created. When a message arrived from Brianna a year later, 6 simple words: "I'm sorry for everything I didn't reply." Forgiveness was optional. And this time I chose peace. I closed the phone, opened the window to Lake Union, and breathed in the evening air, knowing that the past had been fully resolved and every thread tied. Thank you for watching till the end. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. Share it with someone who still believes kindness can't be broken, and tell me where you're watching from. Your voice keeps our stories alive.